Welcome everybody, my name is WirthyPickle. I'm assuming if you clicked on this video, you're as excited for Starfield as I am. As the title suggests, I'm going to be taking a look at all of the skills and perks that we learned in this recent showcase, as well as the original reveal trailer showcase that we got last year. I'm going to break down every single one and every bit of information that we know of for each of those skills. This video took me a long time to make. So I would appreciate if you guys would leave a like, comment if you have any speculation or ideas on what some of these skills are, because we don't know everything about them. And let me know what skills you guys are planning on investing in early in the game, maybe in the late game as well. But before we jump into it, I did want to spend just a second and thank you guys for the support that I've been getting. The last video I made that was breaking down the backgrounds and the traits that you can choose during character creation, I got a lot of support for that, and it's been great to see. So I'm going to keep the Starfield content rolling. So if that is something that you guys are interested in, please subscribe. Hopefully we'll see you in some videos after this. But let's go ahead and get started and break down these skills. So I'm going to start off with the skills that we know the most of at the start, break those down in detail. Then we're going to kind of move over to the ones that we know the names of, but we don't really know any details of. At the very end of the video, though, I'm going to cover some additional skills that we got from the original showcase in 2022. The thing with those is they are from an earlier build of the game. I imagine they've changed a little bit. It's also possible that they completely removed them. That's why I'm not putting it at the start of the video, just because we don't know if it's going to be in the final build. But I did want to include that at the very end, just in case you guys are interested and kind of want to take a look at all the options that we may have with the skills. So when we look at the skill tree as a whole, it's very similar to other games where at the very top, those are the skills you can invest in right at the start. But as you go down the different layers, it does require that you have points invested in the skill tree as a whole before you can move down. And then once you invest the skill point into a specific skill, you're then able to level up into various tiers. From my understanding, there's 4 tiers to all of them. That may not be the case for all of them, but at least the ones that we've seen so far, you can upgrade the tiers 4 times, and those are done through challenges. You don't have to reinvest skill points, but you can progress your skill just by using it as a whole. Now, the first skill that we see in the showcase is robotics. The description for that says, in an age where robots and autonomous turrets are employed in a combat capacity, the study of robotics can be instrumental in gaining a tactical edge. So this one, we don't really know what any of the tiers actually do, but I imagine it makes it a little bit easier to kill different turrets or robots that are fighting against you. I don't know necessarily if it's to boost your own robot, like Vasco. I imagine this is going to give you an edge in killing those. The second skill that we see is payloads. It says any pilot can haul cargo, but it takes a special determination and training to maximize cargo space. This one seems pretty straightforward. I imagine the cargo space on your ships, it's going to increase just the cargo size. So you don't have to necessarily build a giant cargo ship with a million different cargo spaces. You could probably just cram a little bit more items or junk that you pick up into the ship without having to upgrade the ship as a whole. The third skill that we see is security. This one, before we go into the details of security as a whole, I do want to add that we actually saw this when we're creating our character in the background options. It's actually one of the benefits we get if we choose, I believe it's Cyber Runner or Cyberneticist. If you choose either of those, it looks like you actually get this skill pre-unlocked or pre-invested in when you start the game. Because it matches exactly word for word what we see in that background. When we look at those backgrounds that I broke down in a previous video, are each of those benefits we get a skill? We don't really know because we didn't see all of those benefits in the skill tree, but maybe some of those, or again, maybe all of them are actually skills, and you just get them pre-unlocked when you choose that specific background. But going back to the security skill as a whole, the description for this says, while the standardized digital locking mechanism is known for its security, any code can be broken with the proper training. So this is your typical lock picking skill that we've seen in other skill trees in Bethesda games. It's pretty straightforward, but this one's kind of cool because it's the first time that we look at how the tier system actually works. And like I mentioned before, you unlock the individual tiers by completing various challenges, and those are going to be specific to the skill. But the first tier for this one, it allows you to hack advanced locks, and then you get a bank up to 2 auto attempts. Tier 3 is very similar, tier 2 allows you to hack expert locks and get 2 auto attempts banked. Rank 3, this gives you an additional auto attempt like the other ones, but you can then unlock master locks. Rank 4, and I imagine this is going to be the case with most of them, rank 4 is kind of a specialty rank. It's a little more interesting. In this one, I'm kind of curious what you guys think this actually means, but it allows you to expend a digipick to eliminate keys that aren't required to solve a puzzle. When I think of this, I think of Skyrim, like the Ebony Claw or the Gold Claw. That was a specific key that was required for a certain puzzle to progress in a mission. So that one you wouldn't be able to expend a digipick to get past that door. But it seems like if you're breaking into someone's house and it tells you, hey, you have to have Phil's specific house key, this you get to kind of work around that and you can still break into the house without that specific key. That's what I think. Let me know what you guys think in the description if you think I'm kind of wrong or you have a better idea of what that means. But that's kind of what I'm thinking. And if you understand what I mean with Ebony Claw, if you've played Skyrim, it's essentially just a mission specific key. That one you can't work around because obviously that would kind of ruin the fun of the game if you could just kind of break in any door anyway. The next skill that we learn of is intimidation. If you've played Bethesda games before, you've seen this. It's the ability to strike fear in an opponent, causing them to flee so that you can either escape or attack them first. Typically, I'm not the biggest fan of this in a Bethesda game. I'm a completionist. I like to loot everything. So just the idea that the enemy I'm about to kill may have 3 or 4 coins or maybe a couple bullets I can loot, that makes me mentally, I have to kill them and I have to loot them. I don't want them to just run away from me because maybe they have something good on them. But I know a lot of people are fans of this, especially if you get bugged by aliens or kind of mercenaries attacking you all the time. You can just make them run away. I'm not going to be using it, but I know people are a big fan of this. The next skill that we learn of, though, is decontamination. This one, we don't get a description of this, but we learn what the tier does, or tier 2 does, so we kind of get an idea of what this skill is. But you gain a slightly increased chance to recover from infections naturally. So just like other Bethesda games, you may catch a sickness or have some effect on you. And this just gives you a slight chance of recovering from that naturally without having to take a potion or whatever the equivalent is in this game. So that one's pretty cool. But moving on to the next one is leadership. One of the tiers, it essentially grants your companions a 15% boost to affinity. So with that being said, I imagine the other tiers are just kind of built around boosting up your companion's effectiveness across the board. Maybe it is just kind of with relationship building. I imagine, though, it's also going to increase their damage or their accuracy or just their ability to be a better companion to you. The next skill that we learn of is rapid reloading. The description says, in the chaos of combat, the seconds needed to reload your weapon could be the difference between life and death. This one's pretty straightforward. You reload quicker so that you can kill quicker. Invest in this skill so you can kill quicker. Astrophysics is the next one that we learn of. We see what tier 2 is, and then it gives you a 10% chance to discover a trait when scanning, and it also allows you to scan moons. This one, I imagine all the other tiers are just revolved around scanning planets. Maybe you get more information from it, or it allows you to scan other items. So this one's all about scanning planets. The next one we learn of is chemistry. Again, we just learned what tier 2 is, and that allows you to create improved chems and research additional chems at a research lab. This one's pretty straightforward. It's kind of like potions. It allows you to create active effects that you can consume. And again, it'll just allow you to make that a little more effective or a little bit better. And then the next one that we learn of, it doesn't give us a screenshot, but we do have one of the developers there kind of explain it, and that's xenosociology. It allows you to control the mind of aliens, and I'll put it on the screen, the different controls that we can have over the aliens, but this one's pretty cool if you want to control those aliens. The next skill that we learn of is Boost Pack. Again, this is one we don't really get a screenshot of the description or tiers. We just kind of get a gameplay and a little bit of commentary from a developer. But we do see in the clip that they show that while the player is shooting, it actually slows down the gameplay, which is pretty cool. So if you're flying through the air, you can go in slow motion and just wreak havoc on the people below you, which when you pair this with some other skills we'll cover later that increase your grenade damage, I think would be pretty fun. You just kind of fly above them, huck down a bunch of grenades and watch them blow up before you land down, which this one is definitely a must for me. I'm going to invest in Boost Pack kind of right off the bat. And then the next skill that we learn of through a developer is Neuro Strikes. And somehow this just makes your punching OP. I'll play the gameplay in the background for a second here. But it just allows you to destroy some people. Also, I do want to take a second just to talk about how awesome the hand-to-hand combat looks in this. Like, not just melee where you have a butcher knife or some type of knife or sword or axe, but just punching someone looks really satisfying. So I think that's pretty sweet. And punching people is a great transition to the next skill. But before we jump into that one, the next 9 skills that I'm going to be talking about here, these ones we don't get any description, we don't get any tiers, but we do just look at the title and kind of the picture that it shows us on the skill tree. So this one's going to be a lot of speculation, a lot of ideas. I could very well be wrong. And if you have a different idea, put it down in the comments. I'm very curious what you guys think these skills are going to be. But like I said, punching, martial arts is the next skill title that we see. I think this one is going to be melee damage, possibly hand-to-hand combat, and just kind of improving that one, which is pretty cool. We also see instigation. I'm assuming this is our ability to get someone to do what you want through a threatening dialogue. We have, persuasion and different skills like that, or different benefits we get when we look at the backgrounds. But this one, I think, is when you're forcing someone through a threat, it's going to make them more likely to do what you want. You've officially made it through half of the skills, so if you've made it this far, it would mean the world to me if you just take just a second, leave a like, subscribe. That way you can be up to date with all my new content that I can be putting out with Starfield. It really does help me out more than you think. But without any more delay, let's jump right into the next skill, which is outpost management. This one, I assume, would just allow you to make your outpost a little more efficient, whether that's in resource collecting or reducing the amount of resource that it requires to run your outpost. I'm assuming this would just make your outpost a little bit better. The next skill we see is marksmanship. This one's a little curious because when you look at the picture that I'll put on the screen, it's actually an arrow. But I don't imagine that there's bows in this game. I don't think bows would be very effective in low gravity or no gravity. The arrow would just kind of fly off. So I don't know. Let me know if you think there's going to be bows or crossbows in this game. I don't think there is. I'm assuming this would just be to improve your weapon accuracy. But actually I have no idea on this one. So let me know what you think in the comments. Sniper certification. This one we can pretty well guess that in one way or another it's going to improve your sniper. I'm actually really excited to see how snipers work in this game. We only saw one little clip kind of at the end of the showcase on using a sniper, which I don't know. I wish they showed a little bit more. It almost kind of concerns me that maybe snipers aren't a big part of the game, but I really like the idea of sitting outside the battlefield and just kind of sniping in and picking people off. So if snipers are good in this game, I do see myself investing in this skill pretty early on, but we don't really know if snipers are good in this game yet. So we'll wait and see. The next skill we see is targeting. The picture of this is a pistol. So it may improve our pistols, but I actually think it's going to be more so for accuracy. We're gonna talk a little bit more about this at the very end of the video. You'll see why it was in the previous showcase, so we get a little bit more detail, but we don't know if they've changed this at all. I think it's going to be more so just kind of for accuracy, but because I think there is a pistol certification skill already, it doesn't really make sense to double up on pistols, but who knows? We'll have to wait and see on this one. Outpost engineering is the second outpost skill that we've seen. I think this one relates a little bit more to what you can actually build, whether it's unlocking better buildings, maybe cooler looking designs. I think it's going to be more so the resource collecting items, whether it's like a drill or a little area for an indoor farm for plants. I think that's what this is going to focus on, but I'm not really sure. I just think with engineering, it's going to be more about making your outpost more efficient with the physical buildings. Now, the final two skills that we see in this showcase are very similar. One is missile weapon system. I'm assuming it allows you to either buy, build, or install missile systems to your ship. Or really, I'm sure it just kind of improves what you already have there. I don't think that you would have to invest in the skill to buy or build them, but maybe you can buy or build missile weapon systems that are better or more efficient, or there's a certain skill rating. Maybe, who knows? The next skill, though, is particle weapon system. Same idea, but with particle beams instead of missiles. Same idea. We'll kind of have to wait and see, but I think it's just going to make them a little bit better. All right, we're almost at the end, guys. The last ones I wanted to cover were the skills that we saw in the 2022 official reveal trailer or kind of showcase. We just don't know if these are going to be in the final build or if they've changed. I'll run you through the details that we know on it, or kind of the tier levels that were shown to us, but it's very likely that these have changed quite a bit, just like the backgrounds and the traits changed a lot from the original showcase. But I still wanted to include them in here because they are skills that we know of one way or another. I wanted to cover heavy weapon certification first because it's really safe to assume this is going to be in the final build one way or another. And then they show us what rank 3 or tier 3 gives us, and that's going to be 30 more damage resistance while aiming with your heavy weapon. Moving on to the next one, we see demolition. Rank 2 of this gives your explosives 30% more damage, and they also have a 30% larger radius. So this is going to be all about making your explosives or your grenades better. Tier 2 seems pretty legit though. 30% more damage and 30% larger radius is pretty insane. Makes me think of Borderlands, where you're just hucking grenades all the time and they're totally OP. So if it is as good as the original showcase shows, I'm definitely going to be investing in demolition. The next one we see is ballistics. Rank 3 increases your ballistic weapon range by 30%. I'm very curious to see how often we use these standard ballistic weapons, because in the lower gravity or no gravity, it does shoot you back. It sounds like they're not the most accurate. So I'm curious if this is going to be like the base weapon that we mostly use, and then things like laser weapons and stuff are going to be secondary. We'll have to wait and see. But I did want to finish on targeting. We covered this earlier in the showcase, but in this video, but in the original showcase, we actually see that it improves your hip fire accuracy. We don't know if this is going to change, but it's, I guess, pretty safe to assume that it's going to be regarding accuracy or hip fire accuracy. Super interesting there. It's just going to make you a little bit better at shooting your gun. But that is it, guys. We finally made it to the end. If you made it this far, you guys are awesome. Please subscribe. I'd love to see you in other videos. Like I said, the last Starfield video that I put out with backgrounds and traits during character creation, I saw awesome participation in the comment section with that, discussing some different things that you guys are going to be focusing on in the game. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you disagree with me on any of these, what skills you would be investing in. I love talking with you guys in the comment section. So please leave a comment. Hopefully we'll see you in some videos after this. I love you all, and we'll see you in the next one.